Faith Salie this morning has the story behind a coat lined in silk and rich in history.
Some arrivals at this year's Met Gala at the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York City were greeted with a lot of fanfare. And some arrived undercover from a museum warehouse outside of Washington, D.C.
There was a lot of secrecy about getting this here.
Yes, absolutely. It came with a police escort, and quite rightly, it's a treasured object.
The treasured object is the coat that Abraham Lincoln was wearing on April 14th, 1865, the night he was assassinated at Ford's Theater in Washington, D.C.
We have George Washington's coat, and then we have Lincoln's greatcoat.
Andrew Bolton is head curator of the Met's Costume Institute.
It's slightly an out-of-body experience to realize that this was worn by President Lincoln and the circumstances in which it was worn. So it's just incredibly meaningful and very emotional, I think.
The coat is part of the Met's new exhibit, In America, an Anthology of Fashion, which illuminates the complex history of our country through clothing.
Sometimes the most moving stories are stories that are untold. And the story is, for many people, will be an untold story.
Untold and unseen as well. Shortly after her husband's death, Mary Todd Lincoln gave it to their beloved doorman, Alphonse Dawn, whose family kept it for over a century before bequeathing it to Ford's Theater in 1968. The coat, created by Brooks Brothers for Lincoln's second inauguration, has never before left the D.C. area and is rarely shown to the public in order to protect its fragile nature. What's not on display is an embroidered message.
But the inside of the coat is very meaningful because it has the inscription, "One country, one destiny," which came from a speech from one of Lincoln's heroes. So it has this very personal message for Lincoln.
And how symbolic for a man who had to probably carry such a complicated inner life.
Absolutely, and it's obviously something that he spoke to Brooks Brothers about, and Brooks Brothers came up with the idea of the lining.
Perhaps the most moving aspect of the coat is the part that's not there, the lining that was soaked in Lincoln's blood.
The sleeve has been severed because of the lining that has been cut away for relics and sold as relics. So the sort of gruesomeness and the sadness and the pathos of this particular piece all comes out when you see it.
It makes you remember there was a human being in this.
And I think that's what's interesting. Often when you see clothing, the absence of the body sometimes is more poetic than the presence of the body. You walk around the exhibition and you look at the George Washington coat, for example, or the coat worn by an enslaved man. The absence of that body somehow gives it almost more potency, I think.
A historical document, a work of art, and a reminder of humanity.